Now let's talk about Jeffrey Dahmer's father. Lionel Dahmer is a man who is full of contradictions. Do any of you find it peculiar that Lionel Dahmer was so absent from his son's life that he had no idea that his son was living in a virtually empty house when he was 17 years old, basically drinking himself to death? But when it came time to be in the spotlight and give interview after interview, more than any other interview than any parent of any serial killer or mass shooter has ever given, I think. And so quick to write a lightning speed tell-all book about his son entitled A Father's Story, basically about himself, filling in all the blanks that we didn't have filled about Jeffrey Dahmer from his own perspective. It's clear that Lionel is trying desperately to get ahead of the story to tell it from his perspective so that he won't be blamed. My favorite interview that he ever gave, and there were many, was the one with Oprah Winfrey in 1994. I highly recommend checking it out on YouTube. Oprah did the greatest job of not being so deceived like everybody else, not letting him off the hook so easily. And so many of her questions were so astute. In her interview, she said, "A lot of people would say, Mr. Dahmer, that you were trying to capitalize off the crimes of your son." Lionel's response, and I quote, "Well, money is not my prime motive. My main motive is to find out what went wrong and to help people." Really, Lionel? Really? Then why was it that when it came down to the choice to donate Jeffrey's brain to science, it was you that said no and battled it out with Joyce to keep his head in the cremation with the rest of his body? You didn't want to help people. You just wanted attention. In the interview, when Oprah asks Lionel, "Was Jeffrey ever sexually abused as a child?" Lionel was very quick to shake his head no. "Oh yeah, Lionel? Then why did you go on record in a 1991 Los Angeles Times news article by Robert Dvorak stating that Jeffrey had been sexually abused in Ohio when he was 8 years old by a neighbor? And why did Jeffrey deny the sexual abuse?" "Oh yeah, probably more attempts of your sleight of hand tricks to avert blame. And why would you want to do that, Lionel?" "Oh. And isn't it peculiar that he wanted to plant the seeds in the minds of the public about his own theories that he came up with? He's not a psychiatrist, he's not a psychologist, but his own theories about how Jeffrey's sexuality wound up entangled with his interest in the insides of organs and things because he just happened to be sexually developing around that time. Well, actually, Lionel, he was not sexually developing at the age of 4 when you first mentioned that he was interested in the insides of animals and the bones." Lionel was so quick to show himself as a sympathetic father who was there for his son in the public. But where was he when his son clearly had a gazillion problems leading up to the final discovery? Where was he when his son became a full-blown alcoholic at 16 years old? Where was he when his son was drinking at school? Where was he when Jeffrey was arrested for molesting a child? Where was he when Jeffrey was jacking off in public and getting arrested for that? Where was he when he got booted out of the army for indecent conduct? Or when he was stinking up his grandma's house with dead carcasses? Where was he then? And now he's agreed to how many interviews and he writes an entire book about Jeffrey when it's really about himself? A father's story. How lovely. If ever there was a case for narcissistic personality disorder, I'd say Lionel Dahmer has it. The question I have is, why were people so quick to let Jeffrey's dad off the hook? Oh, because he outsmarted you. That's how. The old sleight of hand trick. I'm gonna make you look over here so that you won't look over here. Yeah. Well, Lionel, I'm not letting you off the hook. I see you.